Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking more about household wiring. We're going to be looking at the electrical circuits that are around within a house or a household, and we're going to look at the Australian power mains and the voltage and frequency of the AC power it gives to us. Now in Australia, electrical power is delivered to households in an alternating current, the same way as everywhere else in the world. The current alternates at a frequency of 50 Hertz. That is, it goes positive, negative, and then starting to go back up to positive 50 times every second. In other countries, the frequency might be 60 Hertz instead. That is, 60 cycles of AC every second. The mean magnitude of the voltage is 240 volts. But once again, this varies from country to country. The most commonly used wire in household wiring is the copper wire. So why is this? Because it's very conductive. Copper is one of the more conductive sorts of metal. And it's also comparatively cheap to manufacture. We could, in theory, use wires made out of gold or silver, and they would be quite conductive as well, except they would be far more expensive than copper wires. Now, in order to complete an electrical circuit, we need current going in and current coming out. And for this reason, we have two wires leading to the house from the distribution transformer. Remember that the distribution transformer is the last part of the power transmission. It takes the power from the generator to our house. So one of the wires is called the active wire, and the other wire is called the neutral wire. Now between the two wires, a voltage exists. The wires are kept at different electrical potentials. Now the electrical potential of the neutral wire is kept at a constant value, right? We often call it plus 0 volts. Whereas the electrical potential of the active wire is different. That one varies between positive and negative values. And it doesn't in fact vary between plus 240 volts and minus 240 volts. We know that the average magnitude of the difference between 0 and the active wire is 240 volts. But if that's the average, it means that the actual maximum and minimum are greater than 240 volts. So the average voltage between the neutral wire and the active wire is 240 volts, whether that's plus 240 volts or minus 240 volts. Now, in most countries, they have power sockets with 3 contacts, although the 3 contacts are often in a different shape. In different countries, because there are different frequencies of electricity and different voltages, devices which operate with one plug shouldn't be inserted into other plugs because they won't be able to handle the electricity coming from the other plugs, right? So in Australia, the left contact is the active contact, the right contact is the neutral. So active is sort of the incoming, changing potential, and the neutral is the plus 0, unchanging potential. But why is there a third socket? Well, the bottom contact is what we call the ground or the earth contact. So what's the purpose of this? Well, electrical devices that have a metal outside layer are earthed. They're connected to this ground contact or this earth contact. Their outer layer is connected to the ground through a wire. Now, the ground, because it's part of the earth, we can always think of it as being electrically neutral. It can accept as much charge as something wants to put into it, and it can give out as much charge as something wants to take away from it. And it doesn't really care about this because the Earth is so huge, it doesn't mind if there's even a large buildup of charge. It will still remain electrically neutral. So what happens if there's a malfunction within the device and the active wire gets loose and touches the outside metal casing of the device? Well, even if an active wire malfunctions, the current coming from the active wire will go through the metal casing on the outside of the device and into the ground. It won't electrocute someone that accidentally touches it. So even if there's a malfunction, the outside metal surface will still be safe to touch. Now in a household, once we get the electrical wires to the household, we have 3 main parallel circuits that provide electricity to all the things in the house. We have a normal power circuit, and this is what the power sockets around your house are for. We have a lighting circuit, which is connected to all the lights in the house rather than the power sockets. And finally, we have special circuits for very high-powered devices. So we might have a circuit particularly made especially for the oven. So the oven won't be connected into a normal electrical socket, and it won't be connected into the lighting circuit. It'll be connected to one of these special household circuits. Now, lighting and high-power circuits require a lot more current to be pulled through them. Having all the lights in the house on at the same time will draw more current from the power source than all of the power sockets in the house being used. This means that the lighting circuits need thicker wires so that they can carry more current to the lights than is being carried to the power sockets. The same deal goes for high power circuits like ovens. They require very high amounts of current, and so they need thicker wires to transmit the current without losing power. Now, the power sockets in a house are all wired in parallel to the normal power circuit. So out of those three power circuits, the power circuit, the lighting circuit, and the high-powered device circuit, the power sockets are all wired in parallel to the first of those three. So if an appliance in one of the sockets is disconnected, so if not everything is plugged in, then the other sockets will still work because they're all wired in parallel. Fuses and circuit breakers, on the other hand, are wired in series, the wire and the device that they're connected to. So what are these fuses and circuit breakers? Well, they're important safety devices. A fuse is a device which stops a circuit from drawing too much electrical current. It cuts off the power supply to the circuit if the current goes above a certain value. So how would it manage this, do you imagine? Well, fuses contain a very thin wire with high resistance that is designed to melt when a very large current flows through it. So we might have a fuse that when a 5 amp current flows through it, it will break, right? We say that the fuse blows. So after a fuse blows, no current can flow through it. The contact between the two parts of the fuse has been broken, so it becomes something like a resistor with an extremely high resistance, and it prevents current from flowing through the circuit. So fuses are connected in series with the circuit that they are protecting. So when a fuse blows, it cuts off the flow of electricity to the devices it is connected to. And that's because the current through the fuse is equal to the current through the devices it connects to. And this prevents them from being damaged by very high electrical currents. You can imagine that if we have a low-powered device, like a mobile phone charger, for example, if it draws 5 amps of current because of a malfunction, then that will cause serious damage to the charger. So a fuse will prevent that from happening. Now, another way that we can use to protect the circuit from high currents is with a magnetic circuit breaker, which looks something like this. The way that it works is similar in function to a fuse, except it's reusable, whereas a fuse can only be used once and then has to be replaced because it's blown. So a magnetic circuit breaker contains an electromagnet. An electromagnet is a bit like a magnet, but it can be switched on and off with electricity. When a very large current flows through the electromagnet acts very strongly and pulls a switch open. When the electromagnet pulls the switch open, then current will obviously stop flowing through the circuit. Now, the electromagnet will only get strong enough to pull the switch open when there's a very large current flowing through it. So a large enough current will activate the circuit breaker and cause the current to switch off. Of course, all we have to do is reset the switch in order to reset the circuit breaker, so they're reusable devices. Finally, we have earth leakage detectors, another very important safety feature. Now, the point of earth leakage detectors are to protect against electric shock, which we'll be learning about in a moment. So these measure the current in and out of a particular socket. Now, if the amount of current going in and out of the current is different, then there must be current leaking out. If you put 5 amps of current into a socket and only 4 amps come out, then there's 1 amp of current that's not accounted for. So that must be being sent to the earth, right? Through the 3rd bottom contact of the power socket. And this could mean one of 2 things. Either there's a malfunction within the device that is causing the active wire to touch the outside casing of the device, and the current from the outside casing is then run to the ground. The other possibility is that someone is being electrocuted. Someone is touching the active wire and taking current to the ground through their body, which can be quite damaging. In either case, this device, the earth leakage detector, shuts off the current very, very quickly. Whether the current's damaging a device or a person, you don't want to keep it on any longer. So that's the end of the theory. We've learned how electrical circuits are wired up in the household, and we've learned about some of the safety devices that we use to protect against drawing large currents or protecting against electric shock. Let's go on to some questions to check that you've got it all down.